Hello everyone, my name is DimitriusMac and I'm back today with another video about E3 2017. Yesterday I dropped a video about all the cool stuff that I got in E3 2017. Some of it which is on the wall. You can see the new Sonic poster in the background there, and some of you may, if you have a good eye, can see the Far Cry and the 13 Sentinels thing poster that I got back there. So if you want to learn more about what else I got, you can click the link in the description and that'll take you to that video, as well as wait to the end of this video. We'll also have a in-screen link to that previous video. But today I wanted to talk to you folks about something a bit more different than and less self-centered than what it was yesterday about me. I want to talk about my experience as a first-timer, in the chance that I get to help somebody who may be watching this video who plans on going next year or in years in the future. Going as a first timer. I'm going to list some of the cons and I'm going to list some of the pros of E3 2017 from my experience, from someone who went down there for the very first time and who's never been to an expo or anything on this magnitude at all. I'm going to list some of the things that I liked and some of the things that I didn't like. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. I'm going to start off with the cons first. That way we can end this video on a happy note. So the first thing I want to go over, folks, the very first thing that I absolutely positively have to go over, folks, is parking. And I will go into more detail about it in my tips video about it on Monday when I give tips on how to succeed at E3. That's something that I'm going to be doing. But in terms of parking, I would just say to pre-plan and be prepared to spend some money, which really sucks and it's really negative because honestly, that was probably the most expensive thing that I did besides actually paying for the ticket. And for me, living in California, driving down there, after that, you know, it was the parking. And it really kind of sucked because on the first day I paid $25 for parking. On the second day I paid $20, and on the third day I paid $15. And I thought it was a real drag. It was something that I was really unprepared for, but I kind of expected because I knew it was going to be hectic down there. But I would just say prepare to spend most of your, depending on what you're going to do down there. If you're like me and all you did was go to the con and then after that, you know, get something to eat and then go directly back to where you're staying, whether it was Airbnb or hotel, I would definitely say that this is going to be your most hefty expense. And depending on what your personality is, that could be a good thing or a bad thing or something that really doesn't matter to you. For me, I found that as something that was kind of negative because I didn't expect to be paying that much money for parking. And I ended up doing it. But at the end of the day, you know, I had to find somewhere. Couldn't get my shit towed, right? Another con I want to talk about, and we're actually inside of the building too. I think E3 this year had something, a grand total of 68,000 people. Grand total, all like accounted for. And in previous years, I believe last year it was only something about 50,000 people. So there was a lot more people there. A negative is definitely something that has to do with people. And it's kind of controversial for me to say that because I'm one of the reasons, because they opened up to the general public. So people like me basically were the reason why it was overcrowded. A lot of people wanted to go for the first time. But I just think the way that a lot of the lines were handled. There was a situation in the West Hall, and for those of you who may be watching this video who actually attended E3 2017, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I say the West Hall was a complete mess. Nintendo, Sony were both right literally next to each other, and it was such a clusterfuck that at times I couldn't tell what line was for what. Was this a Sony line? Was this a Nintendo line? I didn't know. And I feel like there was way too many people there for the main two attractions, in my opinion, to be right next to each other. I just feel like that was complete setup. Now, this is just my first time being there. I don't know if that's how Sony and Nintendo always are and it works out, or they decided to try something new this year, but I just feel like the line structurings for the Nintendo section and for the Sony section were just absolutely terrible. I feel like people may have gotten discouraged and not gotten to do some of the things that they really came down there to do, like play an exclusive Nintendo game or exclusive Sony game. That brings me to Sony. Sony, I'm very disappointed in you and how you pretty much handled getting people to play your games or getting people to do your theaters. And when I say theaters, folks, Sony had a situation set up where they had theaters and you would get to wait in line and you would see the theater and you would go inside and it would basically be exclusive gameplay and you'd have like a developer or something inside there talking about their game, talking about what goes behind it and everything, and you pretty much got exclusive gameplay demo from somebody actually with the company, and that was pretty cool. However, there was a slight problem. This feat where you got to wait in line only lasted 30 minutes. The first 30 minutes the session opened, and I feel like it was just unnecessary for them to do what they did. They had a little app called the PlayStation Experience. You would sign up with that, and basically you would go on and you would try and get a reservation for, let's say, you wanted to play a Battlefront. They had a Star Wars Battlefront booth set up and everything, and let's say you want to play that at 2 o'clock. The only problem is you'd have to beat out, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands upon thousands of other people. And the app crashed because all these people were in the same area, so it was just kind of like a clusterfuck of nonsense. And I can tell you right now that I never really made any reservations for any of the games because I couldn't get the chance. It's simply, I feel like some people had some unfair advantages, maybe because they were people who maybe were staying at home and had a better connection or something like that, or just a pure better connection in the vicinity of the booths in general. I don't know. I just feel like it was a complete terrible thing the way they handled that situation. I feel like a lot of people didn't get to play anything or get to experience anything Sony because they never got to make reservations. Now, I got to experience all of the booths personally myself, and I did get to play one of Grand Sport Turismo, and the only reason I got those is because I went in on the first day and I made my reservations, and those aren't as heavily attacked when the certain time comes around, because there's only 2 times throughout the day where you can make reservations, and you have to make them in a split second. But I was fortunate enough to experience some things without having to make the reservations. But I can't say that for everybody else. And I think there's probably a lot of people who went home very disappointed because Sony had a lot of great attractions, but I feel like a lot of people went home empty-handed because of the way it was set up. So those are the things that were really negative to me at E3. It's not really too much. It's not really over the top, folks. It was just some things that bothered me that happened to be very big. The pro side is much more better. So we can go into the pros as a first-timer, what it was like being there and what it was like being in that environment. So being in that environment to me really spoke to me, and it opened my eyes to how passionate people are. And meeting people from all over the globe. I spoke on this a little bit in my previous video about E3 when I opened all of my stuff and I spoke about my experience with that. But it was really fun to see people from all over the globe, to see people from all over the country and all over the globe, and to get to interact with these people and the connections with these people and the connections that you make. And that's pretty much the main purpose of E3, is to make these connections, whether it's with a person that you just meet there who's in the industry somehow, or whether it's with a game developer or internet personality like a YouTuber or something like that. It's that place to do this. And I felt like I loved some of the conversations that I had with people all over the world. I had a conversation with somebody from Japan, from China, from Italy, from Scotland, from England, just everywhere, Australia. I mean, it was just a fantastic experience to see all these different personalities and how they view video games in their respective countries. And I thought that was really cool. And me being a first timer, I was kind of also opened up to the world of what E3 was. This was my first time attending anything like this on this scale, on this massive scale. And it was absolutely phenomenal. I just got to say that was another thing that I really enjoyed, was just being out there and seeing the show floor, even stuff that you don't really pay attention to normally. You see the booths for something and you're just immediately attracted to it. And I think it's one of the good things to go up there and to just experience everything that you can. I think that's one of the best things that you can do. I think that's one of the highlights. You get to experience things that you wouldn't normally experience in the video game world because you wouldn't think to. But then all of a sudden you see an opening to go do something or to meet somebody, and you instantaneously want to go do that. And it's just a wondrous feeling. It's kind of something that, it gets you hyped up like you never would before. And I thought that was an awesome feeling to have. And I want to speak on the E3 Coliseum, which had absolutely phenomenal panelists. One of the fan favorites, obviously, was the Hideo Kojima panel, and I absolutely loved that. I loved hearing, his life story. The interviewer went in on some of his upbringings, not just in the video game industries, but as in the film industries. And for those of you who know me, who's been with the channel for a long time, I can appreciate that because my goal is to eventually get into the film industry. And Hideo Kojima went on to talk about, when he was growing up, he wasn't really allowed to do some of the things that Japanese people can today. And in Japan, he also noticed that he said that he wanted as a child to be an astronaut, and he couldn't be an astronaut because Japanese weren't allowed in NASA back when he was growing up, and so that led to him into the video game industries. But he was also someone who was very passionate about doing things such as looking at the old classics, like the Albert Hitchcock movies and classic movies, and talking about things among those lines. And I just found that panel really, really, really interesting. I loved it. I also love the Far Cry 5 panel. I love what they showed up there, and it was just the E3 Coliseum was a massive success, and I hope that it continues for years to come. In my opinion, E3, you got this phenomenally right. Please bring back E3 Coliseum next year. And other than all the other things I just experienced, I think the last thing that's pro is just to be up there. If you're going alone, don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to wait in line. Unless you're, honestly, I'm going to say, except for Nintendo, because Nintendo, you will be waiting in line for 4, maybe even 5 hours, because those lines were absolutely ridiculous. Or unless you want to play a Call of Duty game. But don't be afraid to, don't be afraid to go into line and to wait for something that you're passionate about. I mean, there was a lot of creators there, and a lot of famous game creators that were signing posters, that were signing this and that. There was a lot of signings, and I think it was awesome to that these people were there and that you could actually have a quick conversation about somebody who may have designed one of your favorite video games of all time. And I just thought that was awesome. Being in that environment really opens up your eyes to the wide scope of the industry, to me, which I never thought existed. I never thought to really think about. And there's just a lot that goes into video games, and there's a lot of preparations. And I think E3 overall, like I said, the connections are the best thing about it. The conversations with people that you're going to have there, and just the pure excitement for people who are as excited about video games as you are. So there you go, folks. Those are some of the pros and some of the cons of E3 2017 to me. I really did enjoy some of the things that Microsoft had set up. Again, folks, I'm not going to go deep into the details of the show floor because I have a video that I'm going to release tomorrow talking about my favorite things on the actual show floor, followed by Monday, which I'm going to be releasing a video called Tips, which is going to hopefully further help you guys in having the best time that you possibly can at E3 as a first timer. This video was simply just to list some of the pros and some of the cons I thought as a first timer of E3, my opinions on it. And I hope this get you guys a pretty good idea of what it's like to be a first timer, or what it's like to just be down there in general. Even if it's not E3, even if it's another convention, because this is my first time of doing anything like this, of any convention of any kind, and I actually had a phenomenal time. So what did you folks think? Be sure to let me know in the comment section below what you thought of this video. What were your favorite parts of E3? Again, I know I asked this in the video yesterday, but again, if you have anything you would say, do you think some of the cons that I mentioned were fair? Do you think some of the pros I mentioned were kind of BS? Let me know in the comment section below. I would love to know what you folks think. And with that being said, folks, I'm going to go cool off somehow, because at the moment of this recording, it is like in the 90 degrees out here in California. It is absolutely burning up, and I need to find a way to cool down as well as I got to get some homework done and for school, because I have finals coming up, and I got a bunch of stuff that I got to do, including filming 2 more of these videos for you guys about E3. So I will see you all in the next video. Until then, I'm DimitriusMac, and I am out. Peace.